Hello and welcome to Norwood News. Today is Friday, May 25th, and I'm your host, Krista McDonald. If you drove by Town Hall this week, you may have noticed a new addition to the front lawn. The statue Harvest Joy Kids was donated by Norwood Bank in honor of former town manager John Carroll. The statue acknowledges the 39 years Carroll dedicated to the town of Norwood and his love of children.
I think it's wonderful, but as I said in my few remarks, that it's really a tribute to the form of government that Norwood has, with all the town managers who preceded me and the town managers who will follow me. It's a great form of government, and I'm just one small part of it. I just happen to have been town manager for a long time, but it really is, to me, a symbol of town government in Norwood. It's beautiful. Thank you.
This was the first look at the statue for many of the town's elected officials, as well as Carroll's family and friends. If you haven't yet, you can see the new installation in front of the town hall. A special thanks goes out to John Carroll for his many years of service to the town. On behalf of NCM, we hope you are enjoying retirement. At Wednesday's school committee meeting, Superintendent Dr. Thompson announced the selection for the new Prescott Elementary School principal, Brian Riley, as well as the new principal for the high school, Dr. Hugh Galligan. Congratulations and welcome to both Mr. Riley and Dr. Galligan. Stay tuned after this break to find out what's happening in your local government.
We have our plant sale on the Saturday before Mother's Day. The plants are grown in our members' gardens. Specifically, the perennials come from members' gardens, and they are split and divided and nurtured until the day of the plant sale. Some of our vegetables are grown by one woman in our garden from seed, so they are totally organic. The proceeds go to programs for the garden club and civic beautification around the town of Norwood and the town of Walpole. In Norwood, our civic beautification sites are on the Norwood corridor, for instance, Washington Street. Here at the Hospool Park, we take care of the gardens close to the street. The narrow strip that's there is all shrubs. We have younger kids who are volunteering and helping today too, and it just helps them understand the importance of growing native plants and taking care of the perennials in your yard and growing your own vegetables and your own herbs. So there's a lot of exciting learning going on today.
We're selling plants and helping people move plants to their cars.
We have service hours for CCD, so we're working to do that, and it does feel good to really help people out.
It's a special day for mothers, and some people just want to give flowers to their mothers sometimes. Well, all the time, actually.
We see the same people here year after year, and it really is a community builder. People have learned over the years that we have good plants for sale, and when 9 o'clock comes, which is our opening time, we have 20 or 30 people waiting to get in, all lined up. And people come and buy a plant here, a perennial plant. They know that it's something that does well in Norwood, Massachusetts. Sometimes when you go to Home Depot, you don't know whether that plant's going to be happy here or not.
Welcome back to Norwood News. Monday night, the annual town meeting resumed. The body took a break from Article 5, the annual budget, to address Articles 12, 13, and 14, all of which covered requests from the Community Preservation Committee. Articles 12 and 13 required votes by town meeting to reserve spending for future use from the Community Preservation Fund based on recommendations by the committee. Both articles passed easily. Article 14 requested that town meeting approve an allocation of over $400,000 from the Community Preservation Funds to planning, design, and construction of the preservation, rehabilitation, and restoration of St. Gabriel's Chapel at Highland Cemetery. The Permanent Building Construction Committee needed funds in addition to the $1.1 million approved at last year's town meeting to complete its work. Community Preservation Committee Chair, Joe Greeley, acknowledged during discussion that this does not cover the entire plan in front of the PBCC. Article 14 passed, but it was not without opposition.
The FinCom thanks the CPC committee for taking the initiative to appropriate this amount of money for those repairs. The Finance Commission is only supporting this under the assumption that we're using money from that source as opposed to other town funds, since it's our view that the amount of money which we presently spend for, as we refer to as our credit card, is too high, and we'd like to reduce that. But this article certainly provides money for rehabilitation of the chapel without further making inroads into the town expenses.
Towards the end of the meeting, moderator David Hearn led everybody in recognizing and thanking Fire Chief Tony Grilly for his service to the town. The retiring chief shared a message of gratitude for the town and his staff.
Back in 2013, early 2013, I was honored with the position of being your fire chief in the town of Norwood, a town that I grew up in, went to high school in. I've been here since 1971. My dad still lives in Norwood down on Codman Road. I've been blessed with tremendous staff at the fire department, starting from the top, Deputy Maggio, my 4 very strong captains, and my 5 very strong lieutenants, and all of the firefighters that work with them, the paramedics, the EMTs, and the senior firefighters. Without them, I could not do my job.
Chief Greeley's commitment to the town and his department has not gone unnoticed, and he will certainly be missed. Tuesday morning, the Board of Health met at Town Hall. The board reflected on the biannual Hazardous Waste Day that happened earlier this month and how certain fines might need to be adjusted to bring in more revenue for the town. The board was in agreement that as the hazardous waste collection companies increase pricing, the board might need to increase its pricing as well. Later, the director, Segal Reese, debuted a new partnership between the town and Norwood Hospital just in time for summer.
Our partnership with the Recreation Department, it was sponsored by Norwood Hospital to place sunscreen dispensers around the community in parks and at the pools. So we'll be sort of unveiling it and commemorating it at May 30th with a ceremony.
The sunscreen dispensers are a perfect addition to the town's outdoor grounds, especially as the weather warms up, hopefully. The Board of Selectmen had a full agenda on Tuesday night, starting off with an appointment with automotive magnate and art and music aficionado Ernie Bach Jr. Bach presented as a representative of Music Drives Us, a 10-year-old nonprofit that raises money for local art programs. Bach explains more on the project.
We're here to ask the town's permission to do a public art project. We want to take these guitars and put them all over the town. They can be secured, put them in public spaces, private spaces. So we have a guitar, and we're going to do an art program, so we call them guitars.
The selectmen also held a show cause hearing for Cedar Markets. A Cedar Markets employee was caught selling alcohol to a person under the age of 21. The transaction was captured as a part of the routine sting that Norwood Police conducted every year. Cedar Markets was also brought in for a show-causing hearing 9 months prior to the same offense with a different employee. Here are the selectmen's thoughts on the offense.
Council, it's very important because she was the offender the last time in August and she still was not trained. So that shows me a disregard, and I'm disappointed at it.
Okay.
I thought at least she would be trained.
Okay. I don't
And she
disagree.
will be trained in the future.
I don't disagree, and we will make sure that she will be trained in the future, yes.
Thank you,
In the
Counsel.
near future with HEAM.
I'll take your word on that. Thank you.
The school committee met Wednesday night at the Savage Center. Committee members heard from the middle school principal, Dr. Frasick, about updates to the student handbook. Saturday detentions will now be given to students with 10 or more tardies. Dr. Frasick says the policy has been a good deterrent to keep students from being late on a consistent basis. I also attended the meeting as head of the guidance department to present the updates to the high school handbook. One of the proposed updates includes a change to the integer class ranking system, beginning with rising juniors. The committee voted to approve the proposal, but amended it to begin with the rising seniors.
I would like to make a motion to approve the handbook with the adjustment that class rank for the juniors will be both the integer and Latin honors system, and in the sophomores we will transition solely to the Latin honors system.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dave. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll put it to a vote. All in favor? Unanimous.
To help summarize how the school committee's approved addendum to the proposal will impact students, we created 2 different sample transcripts based on a student's current grade level. The first transcript is for our current junior class, so the class of 2019. Class rank will remain unchanged. Integer ranking will continue to be reported out on student transcripts to prospective colleges. The new addition is located on the bottom of the transcript, where it may denote that a student qualified for the Latin honor system based on his or her GPA. In this example, the student earned the distinction of magna cum laude, which is Latin for with great honor, acknowledging that the student has earned between a 4.3 and a 4.59 weighted GPA. This student would also be recognized during graduation for reaching this impressive benchmark. The second sample transcript previews what may be seen by current sophomores, freshmen, and all other classes to follow. Class rank would no longer be reported out to prospective colleges. However, it's important to note that internal rank will still be kept in order to determine the class valedictorian and salutatorian. In addition, guidance counselors will continue to highlight top-ranking students in their letters of recommendation. So in short, colleges will see the most academically attractive version of each student. These classes will also have the potential of earning distinction in the Latin honor system, as previously mentioned in the first example. The main purpose of these changes is to prioritize collaboration over competitiveness, to mirror the Latin honors system that most colleges use, to allow for more thoughtful and purposeful course selection, and to recognize more students for their academic achievements. The Forbes Hill Task Force gathered Wednesday evening in the community room at the police department. The members reviewed the specific steps the town could take to sell the property as an option for the space moving forward. Contract Administrator Kathy Carney informed the committee of the two prime courses of action for the resale of the property, either an IFB or an RFP plan. An IFB, invitation for bid plan, would allow the town to sell the property a bit simpler, but an IFB is more concerned with the revenue the property brings in and less about the actual place itself.
One is as a regular RFP process, where you set a minimum price, you set some criterion that you're going to review the proposals based upon, and then you look at price, but price isn't the number one thing. That way, that allows the town of Norwood to look at the proposals and to decide what's actually in the best interest of the town, and not just looking at price.
The task force leaned towards the RFP plan because it allows the town to have more of a say in what type of property goes there. Definitive arrangements for the property have not been set, but it continues to be an ongoing debate among the task force and the town. While some see the property as a historic landmark that should be preserved, others see a costly project with ongoing expenses. The task force is looking for your input to make a final decision about the estate and has a survey available on its town website. The Trails Subcommittee met Tuesday afternoon to discuss agenda items and meet the newest members. Chair Joe Greeley began the meeting by offering the floor to those attending for the first time, who are now considered official members, and all of whom share a passion for hiking and the outdoors. The committee unanimously reinforced their ambition to connect trails throughout the town and possibly those neighboring Norwood. Members reported out on their continuing audit of the town's trails by locating fallen trees, appropriate entrances and exits, and overall conditions.
The other thing we're trying to evaluate and try to report back on is it, as I said, is it flat? Is it carriage, baby carriage friendly, bike friendly, whatever? Those properties would be a good bike route.
The audit is not complete yet, but the committee is making significant progress. Moving forward, the committee would like to increase its web presence by securing a spot on the town's website. Joe Greeley, on behalf of the committee, would like to remind the community that they are always looking for new members and are excited to begin mapping trails around the community in the coming months. Wednesday, the Permanent Building Construction Committee approved an invoice from the architects working on plans to town hall renovations. Planning is in the preliminary stages, with architects performing laser scans and prints. Members also discussed town meeting's decision to approve $400,000 for the chapel restoration project instead of the proposed $500,000.
I asked for $500,000, which included an estimated $100,000 for the lantern. They only approved $400,000 because they said, if we only appropriate $400,000, what are you going to do? I said, well, we're not going to do the lantern, is what we're going to do. And so they appropriated $400,000. Town meeting cannot increase the amount that the CPC recommends. The CPC recommended only $400,000, with the expectation that the lantern would not be able to be done and it would have to come back later.
Town meeting continued Thursday night, and the majority of the discussion involved the 2019 fiscal school year budget. The Norwood School Superintendent, Dr. David Thompson, and School Committee Chair Maya Bodenhofer opened with a presentation. Both made it clear that despite a 3.3% increase in the school budget from previous years, the funding was not adequate to maintain level services in the Norwood Public Schools.
So description of the reductions: eliminating needed positions. These included new additions as well as positions we wanted to try and reinstate previous budget cuts. Not replacing people who had either resigned or retired. Layoffs, although few, but there are a few layoffs. FTE, full-time equivalent reductions, for a total of $165,809. Reductions of instructional supplies, nursing and custodial supplies, library books, administrative and operational expenses, $377,722. And then miscellaneous reductions, and they include assessments, budget line cuts. For example, our tech, which is our cooperative that we work with, came back with a much lower number this year than previously.
A lengthy debate by town meeting members followed the presentation. Town members proposed potential solutions to the funding shortfall, including the possibility of an override, questions about how one could be done, and the impact an override would have on all town residents. Leaders made it clear that the Budget Balancing Committee will be meeting on June 4th to begin discussions on a 5-year financial plan for the town of Norwood, and that all solutions are on the table. Annual town meeting will resume on Thursday, May 31st in the Norwood High School Auditorium, where it is expected to conclude. To watch the full government meeting, tune into the NCM government channel or watch them on demand at norwoodcommunitymedia.org. Stay tuned after this break to find out what's happening around our schools.
Norwood Community Media is your home for all things Norwood. NCM delivers your local news, original programs, and information across multiple platforms. From the comfort of your living room or out on the road, stay connected to Norwood and watch NCM live from wherever, whenever.
Welcome back to Norwood News. Now we will toss it over to Norwood School reporter Tim Rose to find out what else is happening at the schools.
Hi guys, let's check in on events and activities happening around our Norwood School community. The high school held their prom Friday, May 18th, and Norwood Community Media was live on the town common with their red carpet program. Students all gathered on the common for photos and then headed to the Renaissance Hotel in Boston. After the prom, it was back to NHS for the post-prom party. This year's theme was jungle and was a big success. Plenty of food and plenty of fun until 5 a.m. Special thanks to NHS teacher Jess Kaplan for her role in making the night a memorable one. At the Coakley Middle School, Search is one of the longest traditions. Search is a year-long club run by John Russos and J.J. Oliver. Students determined 3 projects focused on the intended trip destination. This year, Gettysburg, Amish Country, and Philadelphia. Their 3 projects must include an audience participation piece, research, and some kind of hands-on project. The students travel to the location in the spring and then do a culminating night in May where all projects are presented to parents, staff, and visitors. It is truly a showcase of the power of project-based learning. The Oldham 3rd graders decided to participate in Red Nose Day this year after learning about it from the Scholastic News magazine that they read for current events. They learned that more than 1 billion children around the world live in poverty, and so they decided to have a penny drive to raise money for these children. The 3rd graders were very generous, and they collected all kinds of change, not just pennies. Ed Sheeran is a big promoter of this day. He says that I've supported Red Nose Day since I was a kid, and I know that small actions can truly add up to make big changes. Every one of us, including you, has the power to make a difference. The Oldham 3rd graders have made a difference and learned a valuable lesson in the process. The children raised $112.05 and are very proud of themselves. The Oldham School is in the process of starting a peer program that seeks to build relationships between the students in grades 3 to 5 and students who participate in the PACS classroom. The program is being designed and run by the PACS classroom special education teacher, Mrs. Bertone, and the school adjustment counselor, Mrs. Collins. This is the first year the peer program has been run, and there are almost 50 students participating. Students in grades 3 to 5 were selected as peer models to meet with students from the PACS classroom once a week to engage in activities that foster social skills, communication, play skills, teamwork, and help build a community of acceptance and inclusion. All of the students are very excited to participate, and many more students already can't wait to join the program next year. At the Cleveland School, 1st graders Xavier Kelly, Cash Black, and James Jordan got a ride to school on Wednesday, May 23rd from Officer Paul Ronco. Miss Beechnow's class was so excited to greet them. The Cleveland School held its instrumental concert this week featuring student musicians from grades 3, 4, and 5. At the Little Mustang Preschool Academy, some classes continued their planting and growing unit by cutting the hair that grew in their grass head cups. The students have been anxiously waiting for the grass to grow long enough so that they could trim it with their scissors. They gave our local barbershops a run for their money. The students in Miss Tolman's class learned about the life cycle of a frog by reading some fiction and non-fiction books about tadpoles and frogs. They made some pretty cool frog visors and morphed into bug-catching frogs. They wrapped up their lesson on frogs with a very intense frog hopping contest. Miss Gale came from behind to be our big winner. All the little Mustangs are anxiously awaiting the arrival of their butterflies, who are now in their chrysalis stage. We will report back next week with more news and pictures of our new winged friends. Miss Lauren's class had fun reading The Little Red Hen and learned how important teamwork is. They made little red hens at the art table and put on a Little Red Hen play for each other. Some friends were the characters, while the rest of the class was the audience, and then they switched roles. Students did a great job retelling the story. The next day, students read a similar story, The Little Red Hen Makes a Pizza. They discussed how some of the parts of the story were the same and some parts were different. This story was followed up by making their own pizzas. Students put on their chef's hat and took a field trip to the lunchroom. They had a blast following the directions and making their own pizzas. They all agreed eating it was their favorite part. After, they wrote out the recipe for other preschool classes to use if they want to make a pizza too. It took a lot of teamwork and everyone had fun. Excitement galore at the Willett Kindergarten. The children have been learning about life cycles while watching and waiting for their chick eggs to hatch. While the children waited patiently for 21 days for the chicks to hatch, they learned about oviparous animals and life cycles. They were scientists and kept a journal while they explored, read stories, wrote, and created exceptionally creative projects. The children were presented with a challenge to design and build a contraption to safely hold an egg while it was tossed off the roof of the Willett by Mr. Joe and Mr. Doug. The children gathered outside to watch with anticipation to see if their designs worked. Excitement was had by all. After 21 long days, the children were very excited to see the extraordinary process of their chicks hatching. The children were able to watch from home with a live feed from the classroom. The children learned how to carefully hold and interact with the little chicks. The staff would like to thank Mrs. Giffen for organizing this event every year, as well as Mr. Joe and Mr. Doug for going above and beyond to help out. The staff was also thankful to the PTO for funding the event this year. The Willett Kindergarten is not just a great place to grow, but it's also a wonderful place to work. At the Callahan School, 4th grade students from Miss Ryan's class embark on literature circles. Each group involves active participation and critical thinking skills. The discussion director asks questions to increase the comprehension of what was read. The literary luminary locates sections of the text to share with the group and states the reasons for choosing selections. The vocabulary enricher clarifies word meanings and pronunciations, and the checker keeps the group on task. As you can see, this is a true collaboration effort. Also at the Callahan, grade 5 students test buoyancy during a recent hands-on science project. One group made a structure that held 123 pennies before sinking to the bottom. The 2nd grade at the Prescott School put on their patriotic performance for their families on Tuesday, May 22nd.
You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you reign.
Students have been practicing with the help of their teachers, Mrs. Bell, Mrs. Bishop, and Mrs. Marcotte. Patriotic facts and songs. Mr. Dugan, our music teacher, accompanied the students with the musical selections. Students proudly wore red, white, and blue for the performance. We were very proud of our 2nd grade class. The Balch School observed a Memorial Day with a ceremony held in front of the school. Students and staff gathered around the flagpole and sang patriotic songs and read poems. The 5th grade class read the Gettysburg Address, and the program concluded with the playing of the taps. Well, that's it for school news. For more information around the district, please check the website, Facebook, or watch Norwood Community Media. As always, thanks so much for your continued support of our school community. Now let's go to Brian Boudreau with the latest sports news.
Last weekend, the Norwood community came together to honor the veterans who have served our country at the Norwood Run for a Vet 5-mile road race. This year's race paid tribute to 3 Norwood residents who were killed in action during the Vietnam War: Patrick Burke, John F. Fitzgerald, and Richard B. Murphy. Race organizer Diego Silva, an Afghanistan War veteran who served in the Army National Guard in 2012-2013, explains the fundraising race.
Run to Remember. It's a road race we created to support local military families. We have since expanded to support law enforcement, and firefighters as well. We started the race 4 years ago. This is our 4th year. I came back from Afghanistan. While in Afghanistan, one of our sister units that was there with us had a catastrophic incident. So we started to help specific families, and then we expanded. So we provide services from cutting the grass, snow removal, repairing heating systems. We've covered funeral costs. We sent service members to detox, rides to and from hospitals, to and from appointments, car repairs. I mean, there's no limit on what we can do. If we can't do it, we'll reach out to somebody that can. So that's kind of where we are. We've helped probably over 60 families in the last 4 years.
This year's race winner was Norwood resident Stephen Curley with a time of 26:45.
Way to go. Thank you.
Over to the high school, where all of the teams are wrapping up their regular season. It was a busy week due to all the makeup games that were rescheduled from earlier in the season. The highlights of the week were the tennis team's big win 4-1 over Braintree and the baseball team's 7-4 win over Braintree. Danny Quinn pitched into the 6th inning and the Mustangs scored 4 runs in the 7th to win the game. Next week, the boys' tennis team will play Tuesday against Ashland, baseball takes on Needham on Tuesday, and Westwood on Wednesday. And softball plays Tuesday against Brockton and wraps up the Mustangs' regular season Thursday against Walpole. That game will be the last time Norwood will play Walpole in the Bay State League. To get scores and updates on the Norwood Mustangs, follow @NHS_Mustangs on Twitter. That's all for sports. Now back to the desk.
Welcome back. NCM reporter Brian Boudreau caught up with Town's Health Director Sigal Reese to chat about safety precautions to be aware of as summertime is on the horizon.
Thanks, Kristen. I'm actually outside of Town Hall now. It's a beautiful day, and I'm here with Sigal Reese, Director of the Health Department. How you doing, Sigal?
Good, thank you.
All right. I wanted to talk to you. I know it's a nice day today. It's going to be, summer's coming, and a lot of people are going to go on walks. I wanted to ask you about ticks and mosquitoes.
Sure, yeah, we always welcome the warm weather, but along with it comes our tick and mosquito awareness. Really, when we talk about ticks, we want to be aware of them all year round. Anytime the temperatures dip a little higher above the frost, really, they can be active. They really just lie dormant there during the frost in the winter seasons, but they are still alive and they do come out on warm days. But we do see a spike in activity as the weather does get warmer.
Okay. And what are some precautions you could take if you're going onto the, you're going to take the dog for a walk at Shattuck Park or something?
Yeah. Well, you always want to wear bug repellent, or we encourage people to use a DEET product, and always read the label when you're applying it.
Yep.
And there's also a product, Promethean, which you can apply to your clothing. You can apply it yourself, or you can buy clothing that's actually treated with it already. A lot of the outdoor stores will have it, the LL Beans and things like that.
Okay.
And you can, of course, find it online. But the most important thing is to be aware of ticks and take some precautions. So wearing bug spray, being aware of when you're in areas with brush, they'll be more likely to attach, or under leaves in the woods when you're walking in the woods. But really we're finding they're so common in this area that even if people are just gardening, you want to put on that bug spray.
Okay. And should I find a tick on me, or somebody finds a tick on, what do you do from there?
Yeah, well, you want to remove it right away.
Okay.
And the best way to do it is just take some tweezers, grab it right at the head and yank hard.
Okay.
The longer it's been on you, the more they would have inserted into you and been drinking the blood.
Okay.
Lovely thought. But so if it's been on more than 24 hours, you do want to call your doctor, because that's when they can start to transmit the diseases.
Okay.
Lyme is one of many diseases that ticks can transmit to you. And that's why it's so important to do that tick check, especially if you've been outside, you've been playing outside, which we encourage. We want people going outside, enjoying this beautiful weather, doing that physical activity. But we also want to make sure they do that tick check at night.
Absolutely. And with ticks also comes obviously mosquitoes.
Yes.
Which is, I know, another whole ball game, but if you could touch upon that a little bit.
Sure, and just like ticks, mosquitoes, it's more than just a nuisance problem. They do transmit disease. It's a little less likely, and we don't see as high numbers that we do with the tick-borne diseases.
Okay.
But mosquitoes, they become active at dusk and dawn, so a little more of controlling activities in those times of day, unlike ticks, which are active all throughout the day. And again, using the same bug spray will repel the mosquitoes also. There's also a great service from the Mosquito Control Project, and you can just go on their website or just Google Norfolk County Mosquito Control, and they actually do applications for an adulticide, so killing the adult mosquitoes, and you can go request that on their website. And that's a great service, and again, mosquitoes are a lot more than just a nuisance. They do transmit disease.
On an unrelated note, I just wanted to wish you congratulations on your graduation. For what was it again that you had participated
thank you.
in? I'm just curious.
It was actually, I started in September, and it was every Friday pretty much from September to May, an academic year. It's a partnership between Mass Municipal Association and Suffolk University, and it's a certificate program in public administration.
Excellent. And again, we wish you congratulations from NCM, and thank you for coming out here. I know it's easy to come out here on a nice day. And Kristen, back to you.
Thanks, Brian. Tuesday night, the NHS TV program celebrated another eventful school year with its annual NEMI Awards. The students, their families, and friends watched the best news stories, films, and productions from the school year in the NHS auditorium. Categories are judged by industry professionals and NHS TV alumni, and winners receive an engraved golden trophy. TV production teacher Jeb Brunt introduces us to some of the night's top categories.
We have mostly journalism categories. We're honoring mostly the Mustang Magazine reporters tonight. So we have things like best shooting in a story, best editing in a story, best feature story, best sports story, those kinds. And we also have a couple of film categories.
Students from the sophomore level TV production class produce the award special each year. The NEMIs are a memorable night for all, but especially upperclassmen, like the program news director and senior Allie Nauman, who won the prestigious Student of the Year award. Two of her classmates, Thomas Guerreri and Ryan Crowley, reflect on their NHS TV experiences and how they will take their skills with them past graduation.
It definitely taught me a sense of deadlines, commitment, and definitely teamwork when you're all rushing to get there and get your stuff in on time. So it really builds character, shows you how to work.
I think the program has taught me life skills like communicating with people you wouldn't really communicate with and getting up close with some certain situations.
Thanks, guys, and congratulations to NHS TV for another outstanding school year. Memorial Day is this Monday, and NCM will be broadcasting live at the Highlands Cemetery for the town's annual Memorial Day service. Our coverage begins at 10 a.m. with the parade, so don't miss out. That's the latest Norwood news. To stay up to date with Norwood Community Media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend.